So now that I'm guessing that Abe is properly hydrated, we will go to the studios of 929 The Game in Midtown Atlanta and catch up with our buddy Abe Gordon. Abe, have you recovered Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have. It took a while, and it was, I'm in the booth. I'm mentally preparing for a post game where we're going to have to talk about certain things. And then just like in the blink of an eye at the end of the game, we no longer have to talk about some of those things. And so very, very difficult's not the right word. You'd much rather have to deal with it. But it's so odd to be in one mental headspace and in the blink of an eye be in a completely different mental headspace. And of course, for the right reasons. We've been in the mental headspace for the wrong reasons. But to see that game flip around like that and look, I lay in bed often at night, unable to sleep, watching YouTube compilations of soccer maneuvers, whether it's highlights, whether it's lowlights, whether it's dudes missing sitters, whether it's goalie save. So I've seen this thing before. Like I've seen probably dozens of instances at top levels where this happens and a keeper rolls the ball. I never thought I'd see it in real life because I swear – it's like a Harlem Globetrotters Washington Generals thing. It has to be a setup, right? It has to be. Can't be real. So I never thought I'd see it in real life. I certainly never thought I'd see it be a deciding moment at the end of the game. And to sit there in the Benz and look, I know the crowd is not the biggest crowd that we've ever had at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, maybe a little bit soccered out from the week and a half that was there at the Benz with some of the Copa America stuff and the U.S. men's national team and everything that's going on. I don't know if I've heard a pop like that and I'm being serious.
Oh, I know.
We've had 70,000, 72,000. I don't know if I've heard a pop like that. And what was interesting and impressive was there was kind of two pops. There was the pop certainly when it happened, but there was a pop when the final whistle blows and Jumbotron kind of zooms in on Tia Ray celebrating the 3 points. And there was a secondary pop there as well. So, I mean, just one of the cooler moments that I've ever been involved with live at Atlantic sporting event.
It literally, it's like you get that initial moment of you have the oh-ish where did he just do that? And then he scores. You get that initial pop. Fireworks go off. Neil Sika on the call on Apple TV goes fireworks in Fulton County, and who's been quite literal about it. And then you get it right there at the edge of the match. And then, as Mike says, full time, you get that extra pop.
Yeah.
That's right there with it. And it was, I mean, like I said, Jamal's admitted he's played possum before. And you end up with that kind of a moment. And I was mentioning as you were coming in, it's like sometimes seasons can be defined by these kinds of things. You want to grow from moments like this, no matter how insane they are, and you're still undefeated under Rob Valentino.
Well, look, this is, to me, taking away the actual lead up and how you got the goal. This, to me, is the same as that road win against Inter Miami. In the manner of it's not going to mean anything if you don't follow it up. And you've got a road game here, and I understand it's on the road against a team that had been playing well, but they got embarrassed on Saturday night. And so it's an opportunity, right, to continue and find some momentum because the storyline would have been here, John, another game at home where you couldn't pick up full points. Mm-hmm. We're very close to be talking about a winless streak at home that was nearing double digits. All right. Now, in the blink of an eye, you check all that off, cross it off, throw it away, and now we have a new starting point. Mm-hmm. But you only see it upward trend if you continue to build off of it. If you continue to slide, if you drop points down the road, on the road, whatever it may be, it's just a moment of blip. What we need this to be is not just a moment of blip, but kind of a continuation of what we have seen under Valentino, but also a real, quote, launching point, taking off point. One of the problems I think you're going to find here in the second half is there's just not very far realistically you can jump in the table. I mean, you obviously are now tied with Toronto. They've got a slight edge because of wins versus draws, stuff like that. You can pass them. You've got, I think it's Nashville that's in 7th. They're a couple points above you. You can potentially pass them. It's going to be a real chore because there is a large gap, maybe 8 points between where you are, where 7th is, and then where 6th place is. So 6th and 5th, 4th, they're all kind of bunched up, but there's a pretty good gap there. So even if you really do start to climb and find result after result, it's going to be tough to jump extremely high in the table. But there are a couple teams you can catch and pass. You picked up points on 4 teams that were ahead of you on Saturday night alone. An opportunity to do that again on Wednesday. But yeah, if this does turn into a position where you get into the top 7, top 6, you certainly are going to look at this as potentially a turning point in the season. And yeah, obviously you have the generic turning point of the managerial change.
Right.
But in terms of on the field, something finally broke your way. And this was going to be the other story, by the way, John. If this thing ends 1-1, we're sitting here is like, what sort of luck could we possibly have as Atlanta United fans that Sean Johnson is out and the dude that steps in the pipes in his place makes a number of incredible saves? And we've seen it year after year, week after week. We've seen it a couple times this season where you have an opportunity for 3 or 4 goals and the goalkeeper is just standing on his head. Half the saves he doesn't know about. And Luka was all over the place on Saturday night. And it was going to be another situation where we just don't have any luck this season. And that's the thing that could change because we have had very bad luck, whether it's the red card on Goose, whether it's bad, in my opinion, bad penalties being handed out against United, whether it's – no, I know. It's been bounce after bounce after bounce of bad luck going against Atlanta United. You finally get a moment of good luck. We're not going to apologize at all for the way that these 3 points came our way. And so hopefully you can see things start to even out. This was maybe step 1 towards the luck swinging back in Atlanta United's favor. And I know some people might say you create your own luck. Luck favors the prepared mind, all that crap. But it was nice to see something swing in our way, and hopefully that can continue.
To fill in some of your holes with the standings right now, I think first and foremost, you want to get out of that 8-9. You want to get out of the play-in game. And that's, I think, in any conference right now, in any particular postseason. Right now, Toronto and Atlanta tied at 24 points. Toronto has one more win. And Nashville is 26 points. Yes, continue hydrating. Nashville's at 26 points. Nashville's in 7th right now. That gets you out of the play-in, and that gets you into playing the number 2 team, which is right now Cincinnati. Then Charlotte and NYC is that next grouping, in Columbus, where really you've got 4 teams separated by 3 points. New York is 3rd at 35, Columbus 33, then NYC and Charlotte. NYC has one more win than Charlotte, 32 and 32 points. But right now, first things first, to your point, get out of the play-in game. You're at the 8-9 right now. Get past Nashville. I think Nashville's probably coming back to the mean after their coaching change and the new coach bump. But right now, 2 points get you out of the play-in, put you in 7th, and then the next thing is chasing after Charlotte and what you need to do there. Them's the standings, sir.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I look at it, maybe some other teams ahead of you start to fold. I don't think you can catch Charlotte, New York City, Columbus, NYC. Or Red Bulls. Yeah, NYCFC or Red Bulls for that matter. I don't think you can catch them on your own. Like, I don't think you could just start to make up points and make up that ground. I think you're going to need a couple of teams to slide. Here's the thing. You've got a couple of teams that have been outstanding at home. Charlotte has only 1 loss at home. Red Bulls have no losses at home this season. Columbus only has 1 loss at home, although they've tallied up a couple of draws as well. If they start to drop points at home, maybe you can find a way to slide up there. I just think it's going to be really, really tough to get there on your own. You're going to need help from above. So I do think right now you're looking at Toronto and Nashville. And I do think getting out of the 8-9, as you mentioned, climbing up to 7th is incredibly realistic. I don't pretend to know the rest of their schedules and if they've had an easy run so far, a tough run, all that stuff. Nashville looks like they have a lot of road games in this second half. So we'll see if that helps balance them out a little bit. But yeah, I think realistically, if you can get to 7 and just see what happens from there, that's probably what's realistic.
When you look at where Atlanta United is right now, we are in silly season, and it's still the idea of juggling players for international duty, juggling players because they've been called to teams and things like that. It looks like, according to our Tier 1 sources, that the Eagle Holdings Thiago Almada deal is close. We got a here we go from Fabrizio Romano, but nothing is officially official. Thiago, he stood at his locker after the match was over, and, he says it might be my last game, and was playing everything up positively about his time with Atlanta United, contrary to another individual who's no longer with Atlanta United who didn't do that. Shows you the kind of individual that Thiago Almada is. There's discussion of Caleb Wiley, and this is the other thing that we've got to, I think, brace folks for, is silly season talk can get silly. And when you're hearing folks that are looking at Caleb Wiley that are the likes of Chelsea, that's where we are right now. It's the silly season, and so just continue to brace for impact, I guess. Literally, this is one of those where you sit there and you're in the chair in the airplane, and, Tom Hanks comes on as Sully and says, brace for impact, and you're like this, man, because everything is going to be coming at you from a lot of different angles about the stars and the studs that you got.
Well, I don't know if I want to call it good news, but you've been preparing for life without Almada and Wiley, at least for a stretch here anyways. And, of course, I'm referring to the Olympic tournament that's coming up later this month. So you knew you were going to be without Almada and Wiley for a stretch. I think we've kind of been preparing a little bit over the last month for Almada to go. And we've seen Jay Fortune did, I thought, an outstanding job in the one game that he had without Almada due to yellow card suspension and all that. So you knew this was coming. Now the question is, when it does get done, how quickly can you sign some DPs and replace the outgoing? The other thing about Almada is that I know we've talked about money a little bit, and it was first reported at maybe 20 million. The last reports I saw at 21. But I read that there's potential if he does well and other things happen, it could go as high as 30. That would be the largest transfer in MLS history. So that should tell you the job that Almada has done here while still carrying a heavy value relative to the MLS. And so looking forward to that. Wiley is the one that kind of came out of nowhere. And it's always interesting to see European teams kind of hone in. But in regards to Chelsea, I just feel like I've seen these discussions before and they come nowhere close to ever turning real. And don't get me wrong, I would love this to become a real discussion. I'm not a Chelsea fan, but I would be not even close. I would be incredibly interested, though, to see what Caleb Wiley would look like in the EPL. And I think it would be an incredible step for him. Obviously, it would be an incredible step for American soccer as well, to see a youngster who's really not even on the U.S. men's national team, still getting it done with the youth squad, taking that step. But I just feel like we've had these discussions, and I've read them for years, and not much comes of them. So I'm taking that one with a much larger grain of salt than I did with when the Giakoumakis rumors started, which made sense. When the Almada rumors started, which made sense. This one, I'm going to wait for a little bit more confirmation on that one, but we'll see. I also saw earlier today some of our old buddy, some rumors going on about Miggy.
Yeah.
You just have to wonder how many people in Atlanta are no longer about to be Newcastle fans. So we'll see if that one tears itself up or not.
Yeah, that one, the new news allegedly, possibly, probably involving Miggy is that in order for Newcastle to get closer to PSR, profit and sustainability acceptance in the eyes of the Premier League offices, sorry, as it said, the Prem, you right now, Saudi, the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote, seems to be interested, possibly, probably, perhaps, in getting Miguel Almiron. And so that was the other news this morning. But this is the time of year, and we've been through it before, where we always sit there and say, PSV Eindhoven with Caleb and all of that. Check your sources, check your sources, check your sources. Make sure that it's not a guy in his basement wearing underoos and yelling at Ma, where's my meatloaf, with that amount of followers. Check your sources, check your track records, check your history with these folks as to how it all lays itself out with news when it comes to players and things like that. In theory, you could have, say, 35 to 40 million ish to play with if Caleb is transferred out and Thiago, if you say 21 for Thiago, the 10 for Gigi, then say 5 to 10 for Caleb, depending on location and percentage of the pass and all that, you could be making some serious impact and still have some money in the kitty for more moves later if all of these moves do come to pass at the figures that are being thrown around.
Yeah, and the most important part of this is the timing. You already know Gigi's out. There's a spot. You have money. Potentially, Almada could be done, like we said, at some point this week. You'll have a spot. You have money. And you have time. And that's the other aspect of this, because when your window closes, other windows are still open. And what you don't want is it to be pressed up where you don't have time to replace a guy. You know that these two guys are going to be headed out. It feels like, at least. And you already know, and between Lagerwey and Bocanegra, I'm sure they've been zeroing in on a number of different players for each of those positions that would make sense. So the good news is you do have a little bit of time to do your proper homework and figure out a move that makes sense on the field, but also in the checkbook and in the business aspect of things. So I'm excited about the potential. Obviously, Giakoumakis was more of a business decision.
Yeah.
Whatever. He's already hurt.
Yeah,
Shocking.
I know.
Shocking. Let me tell you.
Literally, the video comes out where he goes down with an injury, and Abby thinks it's an ankle, but there are no takebacks.
So in terms of how are we going to do without him, I don't know, man. We've done without him for quite a while in terms of never showing up on the field. So good luck to him. Almada will feel differently. I think a lot of people will certainly be following Thiago Almada as he Yorgos is out of sight, out of mind, good riddance, except for the comedic aspect of him getting hurt. Almada a little bit different. There's certainly more of an attachment there, and so we'll pay attention on that front. But yeah, I mean, in terms of these guys heading out, certainly look forward to seeing what Almada can do when he does get to Europe, assuming all of this does go official at some point this week. But you've got some time to play with here to make some adjustments. So I look forward to seeing who they get, who we bring in, and hopefully it's someone we can be excited about. I know sometimes you make moves with an older, more veteran guy, and you're just like, all right, fine. I like the younger guys. I like the up-and-coming prospects. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's part of the risk. But I like taking that chance for the big reward. Certainly it worked for Thiago Almada. It's worked for a couple of other guys, and sometimes it doesn't work. But I like being aggressive with that mindset.
Be aggressive. Be aggressive. Hey, and legitimately, God bless schedule compression, because it being what it is, this morning at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, Caleb Wiley training, Luis Abram is back, so that helps you out at the back line. Not that we didn't get to see the emergence of the younger players like Noah and Ephra as a part of this. Thiago isn't training, but Doug also says that some of the first teamers are doing regen. So you've got literally the quick turnaround once again. I think it's 6 matches before the All-Star break that you have, 2 of them this week, and it's a pain in the you-know-what roadie, where you start with New England, and New England came crashing down to the ground after their recent run of form this past weekend. And then you go from New England, and I'd love to know who the schedule maker was for this, New England to Rio Tinto to take on RSL on the weekend before you come back here and take on Indy 11 in Open Cup on Tuesday, week from tomorrow. Then you go to Montreal. Then you come back, and it's another midweek weekend where it's NYC on the 17th, Columbus on the 20th. Then you've got All-Star break. Then you've got Leagues Cup. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year for all who observe.
Yeah, I mean, the good news, I guess, it's probably not good for, his country, but Georgia was eliminated. You'll get Sabalob Janidze back at some point. Certainly, I would imagine it's not going to be Wednesday.
Yeah.
Poland, we know, has been out. We did see Slish a little bit. He might be there from the start on Wednesday. So you are starting to get some of the guys that you've been without back. You mentioned Abram, which certainly will help boost the back line as well. So you are starting to get a couple of pieces back to deal with it. But yeah, what felt like the 12-day bridge, and then you had a week where you didn't have a midweek game. Glory, glory, hallelujah. But yeah, they're doing no favors. You're right back into it. And as you mentioned, whether Almada's part of this team or not, whether Wiley's part of this team or not, you do know they're going to be gone for the Olympics. And there might be a couple other youngsters heading out as well. So yeah, it's right back to it. But hey, you're not the only team who's got midweek games and weekend games. I know you're kind of boosted with Leagues Cup and U.S. Open Cup that maybe other teams aren't involved in. But, look, they're full match days on Wednesdays, full match days on Saturdays. You're not the only one playing extra games. So you deal with it the same as everyone else. And look, we saw it, on Saturday night. You were missing some players, but, for the first time, it felt like the team you were opposing was missing a couple of players as well. And so kind of all's fair on that one.
All right, before you get out of here, we'd seen the notes on social media.
Yeah.
And Five Stripes don't stop. They officially have not stopped. Today announcing the signing of Portuguese defender Pedro Amador on a free through the 26 MLS season with an option for 27. Amador most recently played for Moreirense in Portugal's Primeira Liga, will occupy an international roster spot pending the receipt of his international transfer certificate and P1 visa. Eligible to play when the secondary transfer window opens on July 18. Quote from Carlos, excited to sign Pedro. I'm paraphrasing and I'm chopping words. Excited to sign Pedro as he'll bring leadership and experience to our backline as we continue to strengthen our roster this summer. 25, coming at a good age from a strong league in Europe. We like his experience of playing more than 100 matches in Portugal, including captaining his team in various matches last season. Look forward to welcoming him to Atlanta, having him join the group. 114 professional appearances in Portugal's first and second divisions, recording a total of 2 goals, 9 assists. Youth career, transferred to Moreirense August of 2020, 80 appearances. Specifically, Amador is a left back. Like left back. There is no maybe left midfield in a 4-3-3 or something like that, but Amador is a left back. His contract expired literally yesterday. And so folks have now started to follow him at Pedro Amador 18 on the gram or the IG or the Insta, as the kids say. So brought in Pedro Amador to be a left back to help out for your roster depth and possible absences. So filling a hole, possibly, probably, but anticipating it is Atlanta United's front office with Pedro Amador coming in from Portugal starting the 18th of July.
Yeah, and look, it makes sense, right? July 18th would coincide with about the time Caleb Wiley is going to be gone for the Olympics. You're bringing in a left back as you're replacing a left back, and so it certainly makes sense there. And maybe a little bit of, I'm sure people are going to read into this, maybe a little too much. Does this mean Wiley's definitely gone? Well, it means he's gone for the Olympics,
yes.
And you wanted to improve your standing there. So we'll look into it that way, and maybe it means more, maybe it doesn't. But again, just a smart depth move for Atlanta United. It's certainly not anyone being brought in to replace Almada or to replace Giakoumakis up top. But it makes sense. So we'll, I'm not going to pretend to know this guy's quality, but we'll get a chance to see it in a couple of weeks, I'm sure.
All right, so you're hydrating. How is the prep going for you? You're doing the Peachtree on Thursday, right?
Yeah, that's part of the hydration method. We did 5.5 on Thursday. I think that's probably my last long run. Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. Last year I was super confident and it was a disaster. This year I'm much less confident, so maybe I surprised myself. But We're gonna run it. We'll see how it goes. So
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Next Monday, I anticipate, please, a full report of your sojourn. The boss is doing it as well. And what she did 5 this past weekend. What she builds up over the months.
Yeah.
Then she'll do 5 to end June to be ready for July 4th. What she will do is now that, and this was something that I didn't know, that if you join the Atlanta Track Club and you sign a yearly membership, then no matter what your times are previously, you will be in the first half of everybody that gets released. I think she's an L group. Where are you?
Yeah, well, I do have like a qualifying time,
Okay.
which is not a great time, but so I'm in F this
Okay.
year. Kind of disappointed if we're going to be honest. I've been in B and C the last couple of years.
Really?
Yeah, well, my 5K qualifying times are fast. My 10K I can't hold the speed for the last 3 miles. So, yeah, well, we're going to try and get back. Now, I'm not part of the track club, so I get penalized for that. If I was part of the track club with these qualifying times, I'd be higher up. But
Right.
yeah, we're going to run a couple of Peachtree qualifiers this year at the 5K level that should get me back up there. So we'll see. But I'll be out early enough, and then I would like to say I feel pretty good at 55 minutes and hope it's faster than that. 2 years ago I was at 52 and change, so I'd like to be in that territory again and maybe faster. Who knows?
You got a thing tonight, right?
Yeah, so Park Bar for Copa America Watch Party. I'll be there starting at 8:00. Look, we all know the situation. You guys have talked about it. This is a must-win game for the U.S. men's national team, and unfortunately, it's not going to be against Bolivia again. You're facing Uruguay, and they have been the class of the group thus far, which is not a surprise. But yeah, you put yourself in a situation because of some boneheadedness in 20 minutes in where you need a win tonight. So we're going to be cheering on Team USA, U.S. men's national team at Park Bar tonight. Again, games at 9. I'll be there starting at 8 and just ready to roll. There'll be some drink specials, opportunities to win some U.S. men's national team gear and swag, stuff like that. So come on down. It should be fun. Hopefully we find a way to advance out of the group.
Yep. As always, my friend, I appreciate you dropping by, especially on a week as busy as this all across the board, whether it's morning or evening or Peachtree and all these kinds of things. We'll catch up with you after schedule compression week number 1, after the Peachtree, and we'll find out what else is on your mind coming back a week from today. Thanks for dropping by, as always, my friend.
Always a pleasure, John. Have a good one.